Okay, I have a backup. Our render contains everything, just chucked in. Defines a lot of globals, defines a bunch of functions. The cursor now needs all of this removed. All the way down to something further down than this. Not as far down as that. In fact, I went far too far to there. To immediately before setting up the GUI, he said, there's setup GUI, there's the end. Okay, that's it. It's done. So now, if I want to do any rendering from inside this code, I gotta call an external piece of code. It's done, there's nothing I can do about it now. I have to think about the buttons, output image and output anim. These things should be lambda functions, shouldn't they? Confirm image name. Confirm overwrite. Oh yeah, confirm overwrite is like it's like a special selector I made. Well, okay. Anyway, the thing that I have to think about is this, and it's given me a little error to tell me, of course, this no longer exists. But before I fix that error, I'm going to do a little bit more avoiding. And I'm going to think about all these things, because they don't have to sit right here. You know, I've got work zone, I've got gradient editor, I've got setup GUI here already. I could just stick a class in here, which is GUI. I am going to do this, I really am. It's going to make me upset, but I don't care. End. It's going to make me upset because I'm going to end up having to refer to the parts of the GUI. Oh, come on. The parts of the GUI, when I refer to them from the recursor class, as I will have to because the recursor class kind of... Well, we'll see how this works out actually. Maybe it'll be different to what I'm thinking. And the work zone is quite distinct. Actually, there is a tab in there. And into GUI goes a tremendous number of things. Now, don't get too upset. Here is all your friends. Your precious friends. And I don't, that's redundant now. Of course, response doesn't like it so much. Something about this structure, the case select structure, means it's only recognizing that it doesn't see the first event kind, preview position, slider. It's strange that that doesn't do anything. Oh, I've got it twice, that's why. I will just take it away from the end of there. Did I really just do that twice? Yeah, held, preview position slider. Okay. And refresh GUI. So actually I could really put response inside GUI. Everything, what response will end up calling are these things like confirm project name. Ludicrous, that should be a lambda function. But because these things are part of recursor, that's fine. I think response and refresh GUI can go inside GUI. Set corner buttons active. And yeah, refresh GUI, it can just go inside GUI. It knows what the project is because the project's part of its sort of identifier work zone not found. Oops. The work zone's part of the GUI. Okay, well, I'm just gonna press on. Yeah, I am just gonna press on. I'm going to say from response through refresh GUI to set corner buttons active. That goes from there, and it goes into GUI. Check position. Okay, I've overshot. It goes into GUI. Top bar, set event response. Response comma true. Here is your response. Oh, come. Okay. Now there are some redundant things here, like the fact that this sort of works again, does it? Yeah, this should just be refresh. This should just be set up. In open, this should be GUI.setup. In GUI, in a bunch of things. GUI refresh. Refresh GUI needs to become GUI refresh. This now understands itself because the work zone is understood to be part of the GUI. Am I doing things that are upsetting it? Just chopping and changing and chopping and changing. Let's see now. I'm beginning to prefer the look of this, but I need to start here and go you, come to here, be like that. You come to me, and go there, and go there, go there, and there. Catch up. And there, and there, and there. That's okay. And here, and there. Here, here. Excuse my repetitiveness, the monotony in my voice, reflecting the tedium of code. Yes. Render. Yes, I know those are a problem. What is going on in here? Output anim, right? It's just telling me some stuff about the animation. Fine. Excuse me, got ya. Load state, save state, GUI. Then in here is all of GUI. Out zone. I'll just leave some of these bits and pieces. Setup, response, refresh GUI. Yeah, quite right. In fact, you don't even need to know that. You know you're talking about yourself. refresh recognises itself, and that is it. And there's the work zone. I wonder if it's possible that something in the work zone's got confused about thinking it'd be nice if it didn't. There's a refresh GUI. What's happening there? I don't like the fact it's saying GUI refresh there much, but I'll just go along with it. And all of this is alright. This is the draw part, and that is okay. Oh, update preview curve. Okay, well, I obviously missed some things. There are some things which are used. Oh man, it's a bunch. Well, hang on a sec. Only NSEGs. This is to update. I'm making a bunch of locals here. This is not something which I did my usual. Not something I did my usual thing to. My usual thing being making a lot of a lot of global things. It's pretty daft that there are fields here, I gotta say. It's like I'm treating it more like a gadget than it needs to be treated, but don't suppose it really matters. I'm only ever opening one work zone window. Okay, well, let me think again about what it is I want to think about. And what it is I want to think about is, yeah, I can just say local NSEGs here. I think it's just from NSEGs all other things grow here. It's only called once a frame, and it can be called less than that. Get X. Excuse me. Get X NSEGs. Minus the start. All I'm trying to do is figure out. I think that this has to be an int. Oh, and seg as well. How annoying is that? Yep. Seg is an array of matrices which I have moved. Yeah, seg and nsegs. Ci and si. I bet I use them too, don't I? I do. Right there in preview curve. I could get away with doing a little bit less here, but US. Well, God, and US is a set of vertices. Transform vertices to US. Arg. Okay, yeah, this is just annoying, but it's the way it is. Annoying, but the way it is. I think I'm going to have to duplicate, and it's going to be, Earth is all this stuff? Check position. Yeah. I'm just going for it with the locals here, so I understand this is just being carried out once a frame, though, so I'm being more sensible in a way. Right. Forget nsegs. Okay, forget that, but I will have seg, and I will have ci, and si. What on earth? I never said... I'm becoming confused, and I realise why nsegs is global, because it's used here. Yeah, ci is set to 0 at the beginning, of course. My gosh. Okay, right. ci, si, nsegs, and seg. I did not make mistakes. These do make sense. And I can just make sure nsegs, ci, si, and I'll just take them. I will just take them. And say, you belong with all your chums. Oh, look. Among here. And it's, I guess, somewhere around about here. Let me check. Okay. Now, oh yeah, US and UM. Just needed this as well. Do I need a temp matrix? Do I need these ludicrous things? Surely not. Yeah, I do, don't I? I bloody do. Okay, I do not believe I do need them. I do need this, and it belongs up with these things. But I believe that what I need for this is just IX, JX, TX. These are defined in multiple places. It's just me being a terrible, terrible programmer. And I know that I'm now going to go into work zone, and I'm going to change the name of some things, because I've got X and IX as bloody matrices. Don't tell me I missed one. Oh, US. No, hang on. Matrix to int. Oh my goodness, I have got myself in a knot here. MIX not found. Yes, okay, no, I get that. Where did I make the mistake? Oh, okay, yeah, it's IX. Okay, this makes sense. What X actually is world to screen. And what IX is screen to world. Everywhere I saw X, I gotta say, world to screen. Where on earth would I have seen X? That's IX. That is screen, screen to world. I at X set, that is world to screen, 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 screen to world. God, how have I got all this the right way round? Screen to world. Yeah, right. World to screen. Give me world to screen and world to screen and world to screen, world to screen, world to screen, and transform all these things that I know the position of in the world and I want the position of in the screen. These things, yeah, should be fine. Except here, when only a fool would be using this, and I must never use capital X, capital IX. This is asking for trouble. Gradient editor is all completely separate and should be fine. What's this? Gradient editor equals null. That is GUI, isn't it? GUI gradient editor equals null. Do I know of a GUI gradient editor? Yes. Okay. Oh boy. This should be alright. I mean, should be. There's no reason for it to have a massive problem. Any little red marks in work zone? Nope. Just a lot of work in work zone. Render. That's the red marks I want. Oh, refresh GUI. Anything else? You're alright, really. Okay. So, now, still, anyway, now, I prefer the look of this. Refresh, render has gone. What is inside Recursor now is a bunch of stuff about actually altering the state of the project. And what is inside GUI is all of the GUI gadgets, the responses, calling on those functions inside Recursor. So, what about these little red marks? Can I catch them? Bink. That's them. What needs to happen at this point is not calling a function called render. It is opening a process called something that I name it, but what will that process be? How do I really make this work? I suppose I have to go to this one, fix it up such that it can accept a void sort of command line command, and that what it will do with that is just compile itself, so that as long as I get a compiled program, and then I'd run it with a command and see what happens, test this thing out. I want to slightly imagine what's going to happen here though, when it comes to render, because these two things are calling the same thing. This just calls it with the current position, this loops through all the frames that are required and renders them with the same command. So this is not quite actually how I want it to happen, is it? Is it? No, it's not. Because when I render an animation, I want a single continuous process to be running. So this is also called with just a string, which is right, that's what I want. The difference between output anim and output image needs to be that output image updates the project file to think it's, to have output still true, and to have the output name set to be that fn file name, saves the project file to a known location, loads, and then starts the... In fact, both output image and output anim are almost doing the same thing, but I should take output image and output anim and get a copy of them into our render. I'll just stick them up at the start. Should have put them... What's wrong with you? Where's my source readout? Why can't I see anything? Oh, I can, thanks. Let's see. So now I just have a copy of those code, and I will also get rid of a confirm anim name is not part of what I need. These will be called from main, basically, or something very like them will be called from main. In here, what actually needs to happen is a bunch of stuff. Prepare project instance for single render, which is actually easy. It's project render single equals true, and project render name equals fn. And then render single, was a weird name. Why didn't wasn't it still or image? Anyway. So and actually I hardly need output image, and I just need because a bunch of this is now going to be the same sort of. I'm just trying to think ahead about what's actually going to happen when you do this. For the time being, I think the program's going to come to a halt, and it's going to show, I'm not going to allow, for now, continued editing whilst it's rendering. You're editing or you're rendering, I think. It's not ideal, is it? Particularly as the rendering's coming up as a separate process, so I am guessing that if you got a multi-core processor, it'll jump onto another core, what's the significance of that again? Yeah, it's that the processing requirements of the editor probably won't infringe on the, because I'm not multi-threading my rendering yet. It probably won't be, but let me see. Because in the one case, the program comes to a halt, and I just display an animating image in the, near the middle of the screen once periodically to show that it's still working, and maybe display a line of text which is the last, which would be the last output. And I will have the rendering system create a log of whatever render it's just done as well. But let me see. I'm just trying to think if there is a reason to create more of a distinction between the two types of render, because if the editor is not going to go into stasis while the render's occurred, I do still need to know. Although I suppose I could just, both render buttons could become inactive and I could display some sort of rendering, and all I need is a flag to say is rendering currently in process. I think that that's what it's going to be, so I will keep these two separate things, but basically this is the only difference. These come from project name, save, erg. These should be lambdas, shouldn't they? It would make my code nicer. Well, I'll just think it through. For output image, what exactly needs to happen? A new process should be begun only if rendering isn't presently happening, though. So, processes. I already kind of slightly used processes. Here, I could have seen it over here as well actually, but in output anim, that's it. Vid render is a new process. Command is this. If vid render start, execute command. If vid render start with this command, then it's working. Here I was setting myself into waiting state when I was toying with how to make this work, but forget that for now. The main thing is that uses a process to start ffmpeg. What I want to do is use a process to start our render itself. I say vid render is a new process. Vid render is a process still here. Must be somewhere. Vid render, yeah. It's a lot nicer to have much less inside recursor. And I don't need half this stuff. I don't need to store the win width, win height. That is just part of something else. I don't think I ever... What happens if I just... forget that. Concentrate. So... So what's the first thing I want to do in making this change? Right, I mustn't forget that the thing I really need to do is to save the project as something. And I think that it's like app path. Do I have app directory plus render? Just put it straight in the app directory and save it as render. Okay. Is this sensible? I think it's sensible enough. Now, I want I'm calling it vid process, but actually I'll call it render process equals new process. And up here, and where am I? Output. Still unwieldy, this, to be fair. Output image. Also, I need to say if render process return, because that's my simple way of saying if you're already rendering, you can't start rendering. Now, what actually happens in there? The thing that happens is, I say if render process start fn, no, it's now what will it be called? It'll be called renderer, or yeah, renderer space plus fn. I'm in bafflement, but in a way I think that this is right. It's like it will look for it'll look for the executable or the command renderer within the applications on directory, which is where I'm going to compile it to, or I'll compile it and put it there. Render process start if. Well, I could just say if not, then return, but that's not very useful. Else end. So if render process start, then it started. It has begun. Now I need to decide what actually is happening when it's begun. Well, I do know in a way one thing. It's this std out ready is set to something, and this is set to something else, and I have them here. Event GUI spaces. No, I don't. I have them vid render message. Read std out. Okay, so in this case what I do is vid render does not exist. This is now render process. Set state normal state. I'm going to just take away the states altogether for now. And this is render process. One sec. Excuse me. I knew a sneeze was coming. Took a few moments longer than I thought. Okay, so this set render process to null, and this just writes to my own std out what the render process std out is. So I feel like I should be able to say I'll just call this render finished and render message, and inside output image, I'll start with output anim because I've actually got this bit here. Equals render message and render finished. And of course this is render process. Why exactly I'm doing all this I don't know, because it's going to be totally different in a sec. This here is just stopping the old one, that's no good. I want it to stop giving me errors. Until this is okay. That's why I'm doing that is because I want to concentrate on this, which is std out and std finished, which really are done here. Excuse me. So in theory, render process exists until it gets the finished message, then it says it's finished. And in the meantime, the render process should be spitting out render messages by calling render message, and render message reading std out from render process. Does this make any sense? Right. Okay, so, and inside, where are we? Output image. That is it kind of done, and output anim is almost exactly the same. That's not really... Yeah, no, this is not... File name's what passed in. The project is saved to render. When project render is loaded, the preview position is known. This, just for convenience, I'm going to stick up here where it makes more sense. And output anim is so similar. It's annoying. I'm just going to copy and paste it though, haven't I? Output anim, I already have copies of output image and output anim in our render, and this is what kind of does the bulk of the work. Tempter, yeah, I'll have to replicate tempter. That's okay though. So output anim, where am I? 45 minutes, so I'm going to stop in a moment. I will fix output anim, because by the end of that it'll be a case of switching over to... For some reason I'm reluctant to get rid of this, but I know that I just can. I'll be switching over to coding the renderer itself. just think equals false in this case. The file name equals this, and all the rest is the same, basically. It's like this could be cleaned up, couldn't it? Okay, for now I'm going to call that another video, and I will begin writing and figuring out how I actually properly launch the render process next time.